Don Knotts is synonymous with Barney Fife, but we often forget that Don Knotts was also a comedy movie star, with films like The Incredible Mr. Limpet, The Ghost and Mr. Chicken, and The Shakiest Gun in the West. In later years, he became a successful comedy duo with Tim Conway in The Apple Dumpling Gang, and many other pictures. Today we look at two of the final films that Knotts was a lead in, The Prizefighter and his final film with Conway, Private Eyes. The Prizefighter, made in 1979, sees Knotts as Conway's boxing manager in a series of fixed fights. Director, Lang Elliott.
Well, I was in Atlanta, and I found my way there. It was crazy because I was in the war, Vietnam War, and after I got discharged, I found my way into the entertainment business totally by mistake. I didn't go to school or anything else for it. I just happened to fall into it. And after I did a couple pictures, one of the films, a Columbia film, took me to Atlanta, Georgia. And that's where I started TriStar Pictures, that I later sold to Columbia, HBO, and CBS. And I was out here on a trip, meaning back in Los Angeles, where I'm from originally. And we were talking about who to cast in a movie called The $1 Billion Hobo. This is regarding Tim. And I went to an Italian restaurant in Toluca Lake. And it was so funny because he was doing an interview, Tim was, and there happened to be a light shining on the back of his head. And I just heard the voice, and I go, oh, my God, that's Tim Conway. So I waited for the interview to end, and I chased him out into the parking lot, yelling at him. I think Tim thought he was going to be mugged. And I grabbed him, and we started talking about this film called The $1 Billion Hobo. So that day in the afternoon, the writer and I both jumped in the car, and we drove to Tim's house in Encino. And within 2 hours, we had a deal and a deal memo in hand, and we went ahead and started financing the film. And that was how I met Tim. And then later, I had some early meetings with Don Knotts, and I'd see him like when he did some plays and things. I'd go and see him. I'd go with Tim and a bunch of other people, and happened to meet him. And I said, hey, we got this film coming up. I'd really like you to be in it. And I said, it's called The Prizefighter. And he said, oh, I love working with Tim, and it'd be great. And so I said, all right, we'll shoot it in a couple months. And, everything fell into place good with the timing, and in between both Carol Burnett and Three's Company, and we just went for it. It was great. I mean, we had a great experience. Michael Priest directed that one.
Director, Michael Priest.
I was working on Barnaby Jones, and we had a production manager who apparently the director that they had hired, a guy named Vince McAveety, got a better job than The Prizefighter. And so he had told, I guess, Lang and Tim Conway and John Myers, I assume John Myers was involved in it, that he knew a director. He was working with a director who could do that movie. They set it up to have a meeting in a hotel. They were doing casting for the movie for Prizefighter. And I went up there and I got into an elevator, and Tim Conway got in at the same time. So we're standing there, and I had the script. They somehow sent me the script. And he said, what's that you got? And I said, I don't know. It's some movie I'm supposed to do. I didn't even kind of recognize Tim Conway at the time. And he said, yeah. And I think I had the job by the time we got up to the top, because I said, my middle name is Conway. My name's Michael Conway Priest. And I said, I change it with whatever actor I'm working with. I always change my middle name to their name. And anyway, he laughed at that. So we kind of became friends. So we got up there, and they treated me. I went into the casting session, and without any contract or anything. And they said, well, we're going to Atlanta, Georgia to shoot this movie. And I said, yeah, I'm in. I'm sure my agent negotiated some salary, but I don't remember much about that.
Tim Conway, Don Knotts, starring in The Prizefighter, a knockout comedy.
So together, let's begin it, and I will
Not till we got to Atlanta. I had not met him, almost until we started filming. He was cold all the time. I don't know whether I'm sure everybody has a different opinion of Don Knotts, but we were in Atlanta, and it was cold, but it wasn't like snowing or anything. But we got a little snow off and on. But he was cold no matter whether it was inside a restaurant or anywhere. He'd wear an overcoat and a scarf and a hat, and he was, to me, he was one of those guys that, Tim Conway is naturally funny. Everything he does is part of comedy. Where Don was not to me funny, but everything he said was funny because it was all complaining and he was uncomfortable and the food and everything. But he did it with his voice and everything, like he was almost doing a routine, but it wasn't. He was really that way. He was just a natural funny guy. Anyway, the first night, we had finished shooting the first day, and it was a successful day. It was a nice. We shot a lot of stuff, and it was a training stuff. Him running, Don Knotts driving a car, and Tim Conway running down the highway, trying to get in shape, and it was all outside stuff. Well, I was kind of surprised that it was as silly as it was. Going in, it wasn't until the first day of shooting when I saw Tim running. We had not discussed it, and I saw Tim running down the street with Don driving the car and training, and he was, like tripping and falling and all that stuff. And it dawned on me, oh my God, we're making that kind of movie. Now I got it, because I came in kind of late, replacing that guy. I mean, even though, but we never sat down and rehearsed it and discussed what Tim was going to do, what his character was, or Don. Maybe a little more with Don, because he was a straight man, supposedly, in of the two. So, I just know it was a great experience working with those, especially Tim. He was more of the instigator of stuff, and Don would pick up on it. But as I've said before, Don, I think, was just funny he never tried to be funny. And we had a nice day. We get back, and it was fairly early. And we said, three of us went to dinner, and we went to this outdoor restaurant, which was not outdoors. It was all covered, but it was basically plants and stuff out there. And we had dinner, and we got back to the hotel around, I don't know what time it was, 8:30 maybe. And we were standing in the lobby and said, well, God, it was a good day's work. Tomorrow will be better. And, and we all said good night, good night's sleep. And, I go up to my room, or I get in the elevator, and I said, well, this is silly. It's 8:30 at night. I think I'll go down to the bar and see what's going on. So I walk downstairs, elevator back down to the bar, and and I walk in, and there is Don Knotts up on the dance floor dancing with just some girl. Nobody. And there's Tim Conway over there playing backgammon with some girl. And I went up to both of them, and I said, you guys are worse liars than I am. Because we all three said, go to bed and get a good night's sleep, and here we are in the bar. I didn't last too late, I'm sure, but anyway, that was my opening day with Don Knotts. Don Knotts was never, he did his work. He all I remember is he we never had to do two takes. I mean, we obviously did two takes, but he always knew his lines, never blew a line, nor did Tim Conway. I mean, they were ideal to work with. So most of the the time spent was lighting and getting ready to film instead of spending time doing lots of takes. And they were just, to me, they were natural together. Tim and Don, they were just, everything they did was funny. And one of the problems I remember was keeping the crew quiet, because they'd start giggling, because Don. I remember there was a scene where Don, made an egg, a raw egg drink for him for protein for Tim, and he was supposed to drink it, and the whole thing was basically ad lib, but it was hilarious, and the crew. I'm walking around going, shush, shush, trying to keep them from ruining the sound. It's hard to say anything bad about Don. To my memory, he never missed a line, or wasn't sick during the filming at all. I mean, we never had to wait for him. Anything. I just know that he was cold all the time, and he was very thin, and so he. Fortunately, his costume in the movie, he always had to wear, most of the time, an overcoat, a scarf, and a vest and a hat. So, it worked out fine for him. Well, that one night stands out, going to dinner. We went to dinner almost every night after that. And Don was always claiming, well, this food, he would taste something and say, well, this does, he wouldn't send it back, but he would just, he would just say, this ravioli, it's not a good one, or whatever. I think, he was, and we would make fun of him because he was so easy to make fun of. But I didn't really see him until again at a party on his birthday at a lady's house here in Malibu, and her birthday's the same day, and I went there, and it was like we'd seen each other the day before. It had been a few years, so he was that kind of person.
We have among us a murderer, and that killer is right here in this room.
Tim Conway is the dim-witted Dr. Todd, and Don Knotts is the inept Inspector Windshield.
Todd!
In, oh my gosh, The Private Eye.
The Private Eyes tells the story of two bumbling detectives, Knotts and Conway, as they attempt to feebly solve a crime in 1920s London. Director, Lang Elliott.
Well, one of the things is that, like all producers, they always want to be hands-on, and if you spend a dime, they only want to spend a nickel. And so I'm probably no different. But I wanted to get a taste of that. I enjoyed it. I like watching a lot of the directors I worked with, and also a lot of films we picked up. I'd go on the shoot and watch the directors of different films that we were going to distribute. And I enjoyed the process and wanted to do it. And I thought, well, if I do one, I'd rather do this one. I love comedy and love working with the guys. And so I came up with the idea for The Private Eyes, and Tim and John Myers wanted to write it. And so we all collaborated. I didn't take a writing credit, but I'm in our contracts as being one of the writers, because, a lot of times I do these and I felt stupid with all the credits, produced by, directed by our company. And, I said, geez, I can't take another credit. People think it's all my movie.
Hello, this is Tim Conway, and I'm sitting here with Lang Elliott, the producer-director of this wonderful movie you're about to see. A little bit of the history about the movie. First of all, Lang, how you doing?
Good.
Okay, that's enough.
Okay. I'll shut up.
This is a movie that I guess I wrote most of it, along with Don Knotts. I'd done a lot of work with Don before this movie, we started to do this. As a matter of fact, probably one of the reasons I'm in the business is because of Don. I used to watch him and Tom Poston and Don Knotts and Louis Nye on the old Steve Allen show, and Don was always one of my favorite characters. So consequently, when we came to doing this movie, it went together rather rapidly. I don't think it took us probably more than, seriously, a day or 2 days to write this picture, because once you have Don Knotts, all you have to do is just jot down a dialogue, because you know that he is really going to take off with it. Don has made very few ill-fated selections in his career. He has always known exactly what to do and surrounded himself with material that has always worked for him. So consequently, we had worked together in the Apple Dumpling Gang and a lot of other things together. So when it came across the fact that we could get Don for this movie, it was wonderful, because I enjoyed him so much, and I still do. I think he is a treasure to the business with the character of Barney from the Andy Griffith Show. He's an icon in this business. This movie was, at the time, a rather inexpensive movie, wasn't it?
Yeah, we spent, what was it, about $2.3 million at the time, when a small, low-budget film even then was going for around $7 million, $8 million.
Ah, yes, John Myers and I. Forgotten that John had also contributed to the writing of this picture. And as I said, it truly was done in 2 days, because you just say that Tim and Don are detectives and they're going to investigate a murder in this house. So after that, and when you have Don Knotts, nowhere to go but up. And all these people were a delight to work with, too. That was the wonderful part. Don used to get a little annoyed once in a while, because, you know, it was so doggone hot in there, and the air conditioning, but by golly, he kept going. And, you know,
it was an accident. You are mistaken, gentlemen.
Remember we ended up cutting the coats, cut off the sleeves?
Oh, yeah, we had to.
Yeah, it was so hot.
God. You know, Don is a wonderful performer. I mean, I truly can't think of anybody I would rather work with than Don. He is he is Barney Fife on a daily basis. But Don is a complainer. Don complains from the time he gets up till the time he goes to bed. So I used to drive him to work every morning. It was about a 20-minute drive to this house in the morning, and I would drive him from the hotel. And Don would complain all the way. Tim, that air conditioner, boy, I'll tell you, it just is awful in there. Now, look at that building. I hate bricks. Who builds a building on a bricks anyway? Look at those cows out there. What do they do all day? Just nothing but stand there. Well, so I actually recorded it. And I used to play it back to him in the morning so I wouldn't have to listen to him. Don, here, why don't you listen to this a while?
Private Eyes, it was a little bit different. Don was always gung-ho and great, but then Don came down with, believe it or not, mononucleosis, which the kids get in school, you know, the kissing disease. And Don came down with that, and then he got, you know, real feeling ill, but Don was kind of a hypochondriac, and we all used to kid. I had one of my production assistants go with him, and we told the doctor, now don't tell the doctor that anything is serious with Don. We don't know what it is, but whatever it is, call us first, and we'll contact his wife and tell her. Well, the doctor thought he was some sort of a comedian and started telling Don jokes. And then he told Don, he said, oh my God, you got mononucleosis. You're going to die. You probably are going to turn yellow and probably die before the movie's over. And so Don came back, and it was like all hell broke loose. But if you believe, like Don did, that you're probably going to die, then who wants to do a movie, right? Honestly, it was hell. It was kind of like being in high school, and it's your first day of hell week for football, and everybody goes to the side vomiting because they're sick. It was kind of like that. Everybody was, you know, cringing, and I'm not talking about just me, the crew and everybody, because nobody wanted to say anything to hurt his feelings or make a situation worse. So the crew all understood, and I talked to them before because I had an idea that's how it was going to be when he got to the set, because some of my people that were working for us on the film, wardrobe, and other people. They had given me an advance notice and said, "Oh my God, I don't know what happened to Don." But when he got out there, it was not real comfortable. It wasn't as fun as usual.
Now, as I recall, in this room, we were shooting, and it was getting later and later, and Don was getting more and more tired. And the lights in this room were pumped up to, God, about 400 degrees. And Don was complaining about how hot it was. And finally, he actually, the only time I've ever seen him angry, and he said, and he slammed the door and went out. We all looked at each other and said, "What did he say?" Nobody had any idea what he said, but he was very high pitched and very and went. And he was going to leave the building. And of course, we had that 20-minute drive back to the hotel. So I said, I think he'll be back because he doesn't have the keys to the car. I do. So we just waited. We were all in the room, and pretty soon the door opens, and Don comes back in and goes, "Tim, do you have the car keys?" But fortunately, he came back, and we finished the day.
Mm-hmm. Trying to remember exactly. I think it was a week and a half to 2 weeks that we kind of went through that because of this dumb doctor. And this was in, as you probably know, Asheville, North Carolina. So it wasn't like being in Beverly Hills and you get a Beverly Hills doctor. They would never do that. They'd never dream of it, They'd be scared to death of a lawsuit. But being out there in the wild country, so to speak, at that time, it was a little bit different. And he was like a country doctor, In fact, I think in the back room, he probably took care of some horses and pigs that were sick. So it was a little strange, like I said, it wasn't real good. It really worked to our advantage because the character that Don played was probably more frustrated with Tim than any other movie that he had done with Tim or our TV show, and it played into his character, so it worked out okay. But a few times he got mad and stomped off the set, which Don would never do that. He just was a total professional. But he was basically scared. Like I said, he was hypochondriac, which a lot of people are. And Tim knew it too. And Tim would try to talk to him, but he had the fear of God in him. And I was so ticked off, I called this doctor and reamed him. But that does no good after the fact, because then you go to somebody and you say, "Oh, no, he was kidding about dying and things, Don, you're going to be fine." But Don was, took you for your word and didn't think he was that funny and thought he was being serious, But Don got through it and he was okay. And he was so preoccupied, though, with his possible health problems that one thing that happened, which was hilarious, we're trying to cheer him up. Well, somebody at my office staff comes in and says, "It's Don's birthday tomorrow." And so we said, "Well, if we throw a birthday party at lunch, we'll probably perk him up and he'll get over this, snap out of it, and he'll be happy." Well, we bought this big cake and everything. Everybody's singing happy birthday. And he says, "What are you doing? It's not my birthday." And so we go, "Oh, no." But he says, "I like the cake." So it really did make him perk up and feel better. And he was eating cake all day. But then we thought, well, we'll bring his wife in, fly her in, because, he liked her and trusted what she said about his health and everything. So we flew her in, and she made him feel a lot better. It kind of, before we got to the end of the shoot, he was feeling much better and believed what she said, that he's not dying. And I think they went back to see the doctor, and he confirmed it. He says, "Oh, gee, I'm sorry, Don. I just thought you'd get a kick out of it, and I was trying to be funny." And he apologized, said, No, you're not dying. You'll be fine in, 7 days, 8 days, and took some pills, and that was it. But during that time, it was hell, especially for me being a new director, because, you're insecure yourself, and then you're having to deal with a actor who's having that problem, and then you have the other actor being Tim, and you want him to stay happy and not get nervous or upset with the situation. But Tim was always great. He was right there talking to Don and making him feel easy, and he kid with Don back and forth and tell Don things like, well, don't worry, if you don't make it through the shoot, we'll have the burial right here on location and put you in the ground. And, and so Don would look at him funny and walk away, but it really turned out great, and it was a good experience, and it was a good one for me too. It was a real good experience, and so anyway, we did it. It was a great collaboration and a lot of fun, and it was basically, like I said, it was off the success of the prize fighter, and then even when New World Pictures went public way back when, I think they raised $300 million. And it was two guys by the name of Sloan and Cuppen who were attorneys, entertainment attorneys, and I think they're still out there practicing. But anyway, they had some Wall Street people, and they raised the money for them. They called me in, and they said, we want you to make 3 Conway Knotts movies. And they said, we don't care what it is, you pick it out, you develop it, and we'll just finance it. And they laid out a plan, not only for financing, but they put up the P&A to distribute the film, and it was a great deal. But at that time, Don Knotts developed cancer of the eyes, and he couldn't work in sunlight, and he was even restricted to a degree working on stage with Three's Company. They'd block it out, and they'd mainly say, okay, walk to your right, Don, walk to your left, this is where the mark's going to be, and he couldn't see the marks. And he just said, I don't want to do a film and work, even though he loved working with Tim, he didn't want to do a film where they would, or the film could suffer, or Tim's comedy suffered, because he was afraid of falling down. So that became an issue. It really did. But years later, I saw Don, and it was funny because we ran into each other at one of the hotels, and he said, when are we going to do a picture? And Tim was still alive, and I said, Don, we'll do it tomorrow. But I said, did you overcome the problem with your eyes? He said, no, but I'm ready now just to be led around. Give me a leash, and I'll go wherever you want me to. So he was funny, and I said to Tim, I told Tim that, and Tim said, well, give me the leash. I'll drag him around. But working with the guys, I really think, I've been asked this before, how many of these films could you have made? And I really think it could have been 8 or 10 of them at least, if we'd have kept Don healthy. And it was just sad that what happened did happen, and he regretted it later too. He wished he could have done it, but like I said, he didn't want to ever look funny on screen, and didn't want to hurt anybody else's performance. And so he was really a game player, and it wasn't like, oh, I want the money and nothing else, or, it's got to be me, and I don't care about how anybody else looks. He was always a team player, and he was never, hogging the camera or pushing another actor out of the way to get in front and, hog the scene. He was just a great guy. And I can understand him, because even when he did Three's Company and things, he had some problems. But being television and covering it with 5 cameras, you had a lot more options, from cutting.
That's the one thing about, as I said, about writing material like this. If you didn't have Don on the other end of this material, people would say, why are they writing this stupid stuff? But when you have Don to react to it, and Don with his facial expressions and reading his face, to me, it works. I'm sorry.
The thing about these two, though, like the Apple Dumpling Gang she did, you and Don, and then later with us doing the Prize Fighter and the Private Eyes, I think really these are going to be classics.
I think so. They really, as I say, the stuff kind of holds up.
There was something going on. I forgot who was president at the time, and Don's talking about Tim, and Tim says, I don't want to talk politics. And Don says, well, no, I'm just telling you, I want your endorsement and your help to kick off my campaign. And Tim says, what are you talking about? Don says, well, I'm thinking about running for president. And Tim says, are you out of your mind? And it was hilarious. and Tim starts to walk away, and Don's following him, saying, "Really, really, I know what I'm talking about. I'd be a good politician." And Tim wouldn't listen to him. He just kept walking, and Don's trying to convince him he could be a good politician.
I still see a lot of him, and he just cracks me up. You should actually, in calling his house, he has on his answering service, you have reached Don Knotts. I call up sometimes just to hear the answering machine.
Recall those days when the sky was looking gloomy, those lonely days. You thought you didn't have a friend. Gone are those days. Aren't you happy that you knew me? And I will be there when you need me. I will be there till the end. Do you recall? Life was not some milk and honey. Do you recall? There was nothing round the bend. But I recall we could always make it funny. And I will be there right beside you. I'll be there 'cause I'm your friend. With a friend, you don't have to pretend. You can always depend on a friend. Depend on friendship to get you through. Good old borrow and lendship, like me and you. So let's begin. We can go and find a rainbow, and let's begin, knowing that we got a friend. I'll help you win the pot of gold right off the rainbow, and I will be there right beside you. I will be there to guide you. I will be there, and you can win it. So together, let's begin it, and I will be there.